All right, everyone. Welcome to another awesome day. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FMTrain.tv. Hello, everyone out there. Welcome. We are going to be doing a very awesome broadcast today on Anchor Buoy. So we've got kind of a modified, based upon the feedback we've received from people, I've got a kind of a modified outline of what we want to cover over the next 2 days. We have people here to help with questions and answers. So Margaret, you're there. I assume we are there somewhere. Margaret.
Yes, I'm here. I am very here.
Feel free to hit the unmute button and talk to us. Very awesome day coming up. Real quick, I want to just spend a moment, if I can figure out how to use my computer. I don't have all the fancy buttons here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to fire that up one more time. And I'm going to type in fmtraining.tv. This is where you go and get your awesome FileMaker training, which is pretty awesome. And you come over here and you press the button that says fmtraining.tv. This is the live upcoming broadcast schedule. So today's day 1, day 2 of relational design. For those of you not relational, but Anchor Buoy. How to organize a relational graph. How to make sure it's like step 1 to make sure your solutions are going fast, right? Does that make sense? So I'm going to adjust my camera there a little bit. So there's training issues here, performance issues in here. Anchor Buoy is such an obvious thing that people have to make a real stretch, have a real stretch to like decide not to use it because it's the fastest design methodology. There's another methodology that might be tied for speed, but in terms of training people and understanding it and then walking away and having someone else come behind you, it's superior to everything else out there. Friday, Jacob Taylor will be talking to us about long-distance server updates. Jacob's actually here right now. I don't know. He's probably eating a burrito or something. But Jacob, are you there? Can you
I'm in fact not eating a burrito, but yes, I'm here.
You are there. He's not in fact eating a burrito. So Friday, you want to tell us what you're doing on Friday? Just so everyone has an insight.
Yeah, definitely. So what we're going to try and cover on Friday is what I call long-distance server upgrades. So I've had a few customers kind of come out of the woodwork lately with version 12, 13, 14 FileMaker servers that would like to get up on 19. There's maybe seeing some of the performance benefits associated with that, or whatever.
Just a couple.
It's been long enough.
Just a couple.
Yeah, just a couple, like 2. Yeah, like 2. So we're going to talk about. We're going to kind of go through a little bit of a checklist and say, all right, what are the things that you need to pay attention to when you're doing that? What are the ways that you can shoot yourself in the foot? And we're gonna kind of go through that whole list and set of concerns.
Okay, cool. All right, so then that's the. So when you mean long distance updates, you mean like jumping a lot of versions on an update, as opposed to your server is actually in China and you're in California.
Yeah, I'd say that kind of long distance would be best dealt with via some file transfer mechanism.
Okay, so I misunderstood the title. I told everyone that I wasn't sure about this. It was a little bit, it says down there if you're jumping several versions. Yeah, long distance as in the penguin. We'll have to show the penguin video tomorrow, the analogy with the penguin video, right? Because you're so far away that your penguin is going to die if it tries to swim back to the South Pole. So, and then Monday next week, Nick is going to be back talking about copy records. Then Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to be flying our aircraft. We're going to have an in-flight emergency. The alarm will go off. And then we will be taking emergency procedures, trying to bring the plane down on the ground without killing all the passengers, right? It's really awesome. So we have an emergency checklist. We're going to break it out. As a reminder, if you want on-demand video. So gentlemen we talked to a day or 2 ago said, yeah, I'm learning everything I need to learn because I'm watching YouTube videos, and YouTube's everything I need to know about life I learned from YouTube. I said, you're going to be in prison, okay? Because if all you learned, and it's like my great-grandfather used to say, if all you know is what's in the newspaper, you don't know very much. If all you know is what's in YouTube, you don't know very much. There's a lot of missing things in YouTube. Understand YouTube is slanted a very specific way, and I'm not even talking politically. It's slanted towards making money, and so the high traffic things are the areas that make money. So the idea is that if you want the on-demand video training, you want to be able to cover things in a very non-commercial sort of way. And not have a bunch of ads thrown at you and get distracted by cat videos and other nonsense. You need to take a look at a training bundle where you get all the videos, and they're not on YouTube. We don't put it on YouTube because we want people to get the training. We don't want them distracted by ads. Let's talk about Anchor Buoy. What is Anchor Buoy? So I got this little magical slideshow over here. I'm just going to put this up over here. We're going to kind of scroll through it. It's not a super, like I'm not like the CEO of some company trying to do a major presentation. This is educational for you. I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. So if you're a brand new FileMaker developer, follow along. If you're not, then you're going to be bored here. Get out the alcohol and a sandwich. If you're the L and lobster, yeah, I don't know what to say. This is going to be boring for you. So it's important to understand that when you have a FileMaker file and you go to organize the relationship graph, initially you just have items that are on the graph, right? And the problem is with the graph, I'm going to go ahead and tell this to play. Of course, I can't do that without my face being here. That's even worse, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can, I'll do it like this. There we go. So I can kind of do it like that a little bit. Or actually, I'll do it like that. Yeah, so the idea is that you have a relational graph. And so you have this graph over here. And if you go to the files, all of you know what I'm talking about. I can go into sample files. I can pop open, I don't even know if I can open this file. Yeah, there it is right here. There's my flight manifest, blah, blah, blah. And if I go into File, Manage, Database, you're going to see relationships here. Now, these are pretty well organized, but it could be a real big mess. So we're talking about how to organize that mess, how to make it less messy. And it's important to understand that it's really important to understand that when you have a layout, it is attached to one of the little boxes on the window. Those are called table occurrences. And so the table occurrence, your layout is attached to that. And your layout is like a little Lego guy. He can only see from that table occurrence, right? And so it's very, very important that you understand that. So if this is your diagram over here, you have a big ugly diagram. This is your layout. This is everything it sees. It sees every possible relationship over here. It sees all that. It gets very confusing for you as a developer, and FileMaker can keep it straight, but it struggles to manage all that. It does. It's a performance issue. And so the whole idea is that as you build a FileMaker solution, you're connecting, like I have a contact, and I'm going to connect it to an invoice, and now I'm going to connect it to a class, and I'm going to connect it to some notes, and do this and that and the other. You start to build what we call a spider relationship diagram. It's pretty ugly. And what happens is that one, it confuses you, the developer. And then if you go about your merry way and someone comes behind you, it's going to make the person who comes behind you kind of miserable. Now, if you're the kind of person that doesn't care about the person behind you, then maybe that's not a consideration. But part of me doing what I've done for 31 years, I want to make sure the people that come behind me aren't totally hosed, that they have a fighting chance to be successful. And the way you do that is you give a good you have comment your scripts, you do some things in your FileMaker file that are predictable and understandable and well organized, and that allows the people that are paying you to get good value, because if I get hit by a bus, then the next developer that you hire that comes in can follow on and continue the work, right? And so it's very, very important. So so this is a relational diagram. This is a spider diagram. This is a very ugly one. And a lot of your FileMaker solutions out there kind of get to look like this. If you give it a couple, if you do FileMaker every day, you're spending a lot of time building stuff, you're going to see this. A lot of you will be like, oh, I recognize that to some degree. So remember your little Lego person who was up here, right? This is your little Lego person. That is, just imagine that he is the person on the layout. When you build a layout in FileMaker, the contact screen, that is him. He sees things from that position. So remember, a specific layout is attached to a TO. So if I come back over here to FileMaker, I go to a information screen on this flight manifest. This is just a random sample file I have right here. Okay, I'm on this layout. I'm going to go to layout mode, Command or Control L on the keyboard. I'm going to go to shortcut. This is the layout you see right here, and you can see that this layout right here sees things. Basically, the Lego guy is on the screen right here. They see it from this, and that is attached to TO1 manifest. So if I go to File, Manage, Database right here, if I find TO1 manifest, that's this box right here. So it has a number on it. We gave it a number so we don't, so I'm looking around the corner here. So it has a number on it, right? We see that. And so that layout sees things from this perspective. So if there's things down here it needs to see, it's not connected. It can't see anything down here. Okay, now that's by design. We're going to get into this, but that's by design. The TO1, which is this table layout right here, can only see through these two relationships right here. It doesn't matter what these relationships are. we're talking about how to generically structure your solution. Your solution can be about dogs, cats, planes, money, students, classes, inventory, trucks, trains, automobiles, Jacob Taylor's electric bike. It could be about dead bodies at a morgue. Kid you not, there's a FileMaker database for that too. I've also seen databases, wasn't personally involved about this, but I heard someone had the contract for building a vertical market FileMaker app for all the strip clubs in northern Nevada, right? And I thought that was probably a pretty amazing contract to get that. And so I knew that they were using that, and I you know, how you have strip clubs and the performers and all this sort of stuff. And so it doesn't matter what you're building in FileMaker. It doesn't matter. It could be nonprofit, it could be high profit. The structural design here applies to everyone. The people that can argue about this are the people with probably 15 plus years of experience who don't care about the people who come behind them, to be honest with you. Then those people will come up with something different. But if you care about the people who come behind you and you love your customer, they're paying you, you love them. If you're in-house, they're paying you a salary. If you're a contractor, you're outside the company. If you care about them, you want to comment your work and make it easy for people to fall behind. So that's what this is right over here. This represents a way of organizing things that's simple to follow. So when I'm going to go ahead and close this, I'm going to discard my changes. I'm going to close this right here. I'm going to go back to my little file right here. So understand that the layout is attached to the box. Now over in the other sample file, it was pretty simple, right? But what if you're hired? So say that Ellen the lobster has an unfortunate accident, or she goes to work at this NetSuite company, and she leaves behind her FileMaker customers. And Ellen built a relational diagram that looks like this, right? And maybe she has, and maybe she hasn't. Maybe she hires Kyle. They hire Kyle to come behind her and to work on it. And Kyle is trying. Now Kyle's a smart guy, but Kyle ain't a telepath. Can't mentally beam into Ellen the lobster's brain to find out what she built and why she built it. And if Ellen's diagram looks like this, Kyle is going to have a hard time. He can probably get through it, but the customer is going to pay Kyle extra time to understand what's going on. But this is the key concept right here, is what happens to the person that comes behind you. Or just think about yourself. Pretend that you're the most narcissistic person on the planet and you don't care about anyone else. You only care about yourself. Okay, well, if you leave a solution and come back in a couple of years to work on it, you're going to forget all the wiring that went into the relationships. You yourself will be the person that's struggling. So even for your own self-preservation, I recommend that you think about this. So here's another diagram. Here we go. It's even a worse diagram. And your little Lego guy could be here, or a layout that's attached here, and you're trying to find your way through all this and understand what's going on. Or you could be over here. So once again, a layout could be attached to any one of these table occurrences, okay? That's the critical understanding of how you get to this place by accident. Once again, the road to hell is paved with accidental decisions. And as you learn FileMaker, you will build something like this. We're here to tell you there is a different way. So Anchor Buoy is the way. A method that's easily and consistently created using a FileMaker Relational Graph. Without this, new developers would get themselves in trouble, either from communicating what they're doing or to other people, or them understanding it after a period of time where they've left and come back. And the method is officially endorsed by Claris Engineering. They don't use the word Anchor Buoy, but they endorse it, and I'm happy to talk about that today or tomorrow because it's a 2-day exercise, but it's on their website. I love it. I love it. It'd be better if they'd named it, but they didn't name it. They just kind of drew a picture of it and said, we really like this. And because not only is it make sense, it's really fast. That's what Claris said. They said it's really fast. Back in the old days, for a while, it wasn't the fastest way, but because of under-the-hood changes. Jacob Taylor was talking about the webinar for Friday. If you're on FileMaker 5 and you're trying to update to FileMaker 19, or you're on FileMaker 12 or 13 or 14, you have missed out on a ton of performance improvements with your FileMaker file. The FileMaker file, if you from one release to the next, may not be that great, but when you go over 2 or 3 or 4 releases, the performance change on a client from the server to the client is pretty dramatic. And so one of the things that changed over the time was that if you used Anchor Buoy, it's much, much faster. So I need to find, I don't know if David, I'll probably download the graphic here and talk about this, but let's just talk about what Anchor Buoy is. So if this is your diagram, some version of this, and your layouts are attached to this, Anchor Buoy is a little different. What Anchor Buoy says is that you're going to take a layout it's going to be assigned the anchor slot. So that's what this left spot is right here. And so there is a layout attached to that. And all the things that we need to support that layout are relationally attached on the right. Now, the layout isn't attached over here, but these are all the supporting things. So if I'm on a layout that talks about subscriptions, I need to know the related contact, the related invoice, the related preferences, all these kinds of things that are over here. And so this is called the table occurrence group. This table occurrence group is not in any way attached to the item below it or the item below that. So if we're on a layout here, the Lego guy, right, can only see the attachments right here. Okay, that's it. If I go down to the next one, not only is he understand what's going on now, he's cool because now he understands what's happening. The customer comes to me and says, I need to fix something. Something's wrong in this layout. He knows that all he has to look at, all they have to look at is this table occurrence group. It's a TO. A table occurrence group is multiple table occurrences, which is what this is. The yellow box with the title around it is just window dressing. It makes it easy to understand. That's not really part of it. The yellow box is just there frivolously. It's this core group right here with these related items right here. Once again, down here the same way. So 3 layouts, 3 different contexts. The context is king. So that's what we're starting to talk about here. We're talking about the fact that a table occurrence group are these separate non-connected groups of table occurrences. Why is this so important? This is how, I'm going to get rid of myself under here. So remember we said that the layout is on the table occurrence group. And so your context is whatever you're connected to. Well, what if you're connected to everything? So this is your table occurrence group over here, and you're connected to this. Not only do you try to understand what's going on, but when FileMaker renders your layout, it has to evaluate every relationship. It has to evaluate everyone. And what does that mean? It has to think about it. And so people say, well, I want my FileMaker file to go fast. My FileMaker file is slow, right? Why is it slow? Well, because you built something like this, and this is probably a central item right here, this AS parties right here. Guess what? There's probably a bunch of layouts attached to this. And so for the layout to even display, FileMaker displays the base information here. Then it goes out to every relationship, and it goes, I'm going to make a for everything. All right, so here we go. Processing. It's not showing everything yet. It's getting the beach ball. Oh, got to go over here too. Oh, wait a minute. This was connected up here. And then wait on over here. Right? And so that's what you get. And so what FileMaker ends up doing is this. It's spinning on every relationship because they're all connected at the same time. Now, there might be a couple in there where it's not going to evaluate them for whatever reason, but you've created a giant mess. This is a performance nightmare. Welcome to your FileMaker file that you've created, right? So as an alternative to that, may I strongly suggest the anchor buoy, right? So this is where we have the anchor buoy. This is your anchor buoy right here. And so when you're on a layout, right? Remember the other one was because you're on a layout attached to TO, but all the TOs are together. So what if you're on a layout, a TOG? What does FileMaker evaluate? It only evaluates the things that you're connected to, right? And so all it's going to do is evaluate this, right? And you're like, well, I want to jump to another layout. Okay, then it's only going to evaluate that. It's not going to worry about all the other ones, right? How cool is that? So this is why Claris endorses this, because this is just way faster. And it's way easier to understand. So the lobster. I'm not sure what anchor time is with the pug. I'll try to understand that. But yes, questions, Jacob, are you in here watching it all? Questions. So based upon, yep. You can have too many buoys. Yeah. So here's the rub. Here's the general concept. So this is what people typically build, right? They build something that looks like this, right? They build this, and they wonder why FileMaker sucks. FileMaker sucks. It's so slow. It's horrible. I need a different product. Never mind that you bolted a giant piece of crap together, and you did this. You. Okay, so understanding that you have the control to prevent this or to fix it. You yourself can do that. So what you have to do is you build a layout, okay? And so every layout you build, like a contact layout, you're going to determine what items you want on the layout. Oh, I want a portal for this. I want a portal for that. I want a portal for this. And so you end up with something like what you'll see in BC8. If I go back over to Keynote over here, I come over here. So this is so I have a layout for subscriptions right here, right? We see this right here. We have a layout for subscriptions. I have a portal. I need this related data, this or that. This is not all the tables in the system. It's not all the table occurrence in the system. I built this specifically to support the layout. That's the whole idea. You're building a table occurrence group to support a specific layout. Well, what happens if you have too many buoys? Okay, generally, when you build a table occurrence group, you're going to only put so many things on a layout because frankly, at the end of the day, there's only things you can put on a layout. If you put everything on the layout, you will be scolded by Nick Hunter doing bad design. Okay, but so you're going to have different layouts that do different things, right? So you're building a table occurrence group that services, that supports that one layout. Nothing unneeded is there. So like, for example, in my copy of a finished goods system, so let me see if I can, I don't even know if it's even really kind of open. Let me see, is it other one open? It is open right here. So I'm in finished goods. I'm going to go file manage database. Okay, this is great. So I'm going to answer the question. So we have a layout. So we have the subscription layout. You guys recognize these from, I took a screenshot of these, right? You're like, well, there's like 8 of them in here. Maybe that's okay, right? So no one's stressed about that. And you come down the notes. Then you have contacts. Now contacts is like a core thing for a CRM. So what do we have in contacts? You're like, oh, well, there's a bunch of them, right? So and this is because RCC, because this is context for all the subscriptions. When we sell software, we sell training, you buy something from us, you hire Jacob to build a server, it's all supported here. So it's a pretty elaborate little setup. However, it's still a limited number of items. It's not connected. Shall we look at the rest of the system? It's not connected to all these other things. So as a result, the performance is better because I haven't connected it to everything else. Now, context is slow, and so let's talk about this a little bit. So context we have is a pretty involved layout. What you can do, and this came up the other day, the engineers, I said, hey, I want to create another context screen with a focus on this specific job. So we had a context screen that did everything. Let's break it into 2 specific jobs. A job is for a sales guy or a job is for a tech support person or whatever it is. And they need to see different stuff. So what we do is we build 2 different table occurrence groups. Now, one of the rules in table occurrence group is that for contacts, you should have 1 anchor for contacts. Not really. You need to have 1 anchor buoy tog group for a layout, right? Now, if you have a contacts layout that does this and another contacts layout that does something else, and they're not really overlapping a ton, then you need to build a table occurrence group that's optimized, especially if you've got this many items on it, right? So I've got upwards of about 25 or 30 items here. That's quite a few. Most of them are not that big, but if I built 2 contacts layout, I might have 1 table occurrence group that's grouped to this section, and then another table occurrence group that's grouped to this. So different togs for different layouts with different missions. So it's not that you have to combine all the contacts to one. It's where you want to kind of demarcate. That's a line of demarcation, right? And that improves performance because then once again, FileMaker is only having to process the things that are in that group. It doesn't have to process all 30. Maybe it processes 15. Makes sense? So there we go. So it looks like max buoys is a lot. I don't know. The max is when FileMaker quits running at an acceptable speed. It's never going to say, sorry, Moki, error 429, little dialog pod. Error 429. Moki has installed 385 TOs, and we can only have 384 TOs, and so error 921, you cannot proceed, crash. It doesn't do that. You know that it's too many when it goes slow, right? When you're on a solution and it goes slow. And you know your network is fine. You've tested your network, done the latency check. The server's running great. You're not doing anything weird. And then you do all this stuff, and then it goes slow. That's your clue that you have too many. Or you have too many unsavory things on the layout, too many. Once again, this gets back to the performance conversation we attempted to have yesterday that blew up. But if you watch those performance videos, we don't talk about anchor buoy too much, but there are anchor buoy videos in our course, right, very specifically. So, yeah, so understand that this to me is a little concerning, so I'm watching to make sure there's no performance drop off, but we use this solution a lot. Now this solution, guess what? We're using decent computers on decent internet, and it's on the west. We're in California, and the server is it in Oregon, Michael? Jacob Taylor?
Nope, we're in the Bay Area.
We're actually in the
US
Bay Area.
West 1.
So it's pretty quick. The latency is pretty quick to this. So once again, that gets back to our conversations on latency. That's the delay as a little packet, a little signal goes across the internet from your computer to the server and back. How long is the delay there? There is a delay. If you go across the globe like we go, it's probably 10 milliseconds or 20 milliseconds around this local area where we're at, where this runs just fine. But if you try to run this solution, and the server was in Mumbai, India, we did testing, 4 months ago, where that showed 338 milliseconds thereabouts, which is like 100 times worse than local, right?
At least,
yeah, at least, and it would be unserviceable. It would be that's a pilot FAA term for it doesn't work. We found the aircraft to be unserviceable. It means it's not airworthy. It doesn't work, right? It means your customers are going to be pissed off. So anyway, so that is the Moki question on that. I'm going to discard the question there. YouTube, Joel Schumann, are TOGs the same but copies? Okay, so let's talk about this. A TOG is a representation of a table. These are not, this is very important, the relationship graph in FileMaker is not an ERD, an entity relationship diagram. There is no such thing as the ERD in FileMaker. It kind of looks like it, kind of makes you think about it, but it's different. A ERD is basically if you were in FileMaker. Let me just jump to FileMaker real quick. So if I go to FileMaker and I have a file that's open somewhere, and I go File, Manage, Database, and I go to Tables. If I had a chart, everyone, wherever we're at, if I had a chart and this list was represented on a graphical chart, and each table here was represented once and once only, that's an ERD. That doesn't exist in FileMaker. So for example, if I'm in contacts over here, so for example, I'm right here, and I have this table occurrence group right here. So these are like, they're a single representation of a table. A table can have more than one of those. So here we have notes right here. Then we have this representation right here, which says it's contacts. So if I double click it, it's talking to contacts. So this TO right here is contacts. But this one right here is also contacts. So it's, they're not, I understand, and people talk about this, it's not an ERD. The relationship diagram is not an entity relationship diagram. It's in some ways it's better because it gives you context. Remember, the whole concept here is that an entity relationship diagram just kind of shows you kind of a broad structural routing of how a base set of relationships work, but it doesn't give you context, right? When we build a layout, we attach a layout to a specific TO. So here's our little Lego guy. He's right here, person, right? And he or she, Lego person, can only see these items right here. They can't see anything else. So the relationship diagram in FileMaker allows you to establish, to a degree, some business logic, some context. When we're in subscriptions, we can only see these items, right? Because they're the items that we need to see on the layout. So you build it here. Then you go back to layout and you drag the things on, and then you could say, oh, I forgot to add this little bit of data, so you have to come over here and add another one and connect it. So we add one more. You can tell from the contacts one that in the big long contacts one, we kept adding to it, and it kind of went off the bottom and kept adding to it because we're like, oh yeah, and then oh yeah, we forgot this. It's what FileMaker is great at, is the oh yeahs. It's organically growing. Oh yeah, we forgot about this feature over here. Oh yeah, I promised Christian Olsen he could do this and this and this. And so the oh yeahs, which are fatal in a lot of development programming worlds, in FileMaker they're supported. That's what's so great about it. So oh yeah, we could do that, no problem. So Moki got it. Simon Day says, I led to believe that FM will calculate all the data in the TO in order to check the records that are available. Yeah, so Simon Day's talking about other performance tips. He's talking about limiting related data. I'm not going to get into that, Simon. Negative number rubber ducky. We covered that yesterday. We tried to cover it until it blew up. go back and watch our training videos. We talk about when you have a found set, when FileMaker is going to bring down data, it's going to evaluate that. We talk about that in those new performance videos specifically. We covered that yesterday. It's in the very first performance videos. It talks about the number of records it downloads, how it evaluates that, the number, it brings all that data down. We covered that in that training. So, but yeah, that's other performance stuff you can do. So this is not all that you can do to fix the performance. In fact, if this is all you do to fix your performance, you're probably still screwed, okay? This is not enough performance tuning. You need to do other things as well. This we are just covering today and tomorrow, this one topic, because this one topic is deep enough just to cover that. So, Michel Gravel, how are the anchors related between themselves? They're not. That's the whole point. How are the anchors related between themselves? They're not. That's the whole point. In a spider diagram, if I scroll back over here, they're all connected. Everything's cross-connected. I think this group right here might not. Oh, it is connected right through there. See that little mess over there? This whole thing is one giant table occurrence group. There's only one tog here. Table occurrence group. Everything is cross-connected to everything else, one way or the other. So that causes performance problems. That's the point. We don't cross-connect the groups. So if you don't cross-connect the groups, you get performance benefits from that. Big performance benefits from that. Ken says, so on a very simple level, you have two tables, two layouts. I have two anchors, each with one buoy. Is this correct? Yes, that is totally correct. That is totally correct. Now, but. So let's bring this over here. So Ken's got some good stuff. So I'm going to bring up Discord. Don't make me regret this, people. Okay, I'm going to bring up Discord right now. Here's Discord. Okay. So Ken is doing pilot certification with hot air balloons. And so Ken has a layout called pilots. He has a layout called balloons. If he's on the layout called pilots, it's attached to this. Any supporting data he needs from any related table should be cross-connected in here. You don't go, oh, let me just connect this one to this one real quick, and that'll be the quick, easy way of doing it. You've just screwed yourself. If the solution is this small, no one cares. That's so small, no one cares. But when you start having 30 or 40 tables and 100 table occurrences, and you put the server on the cloud, and you have 5 or 10 or 20 or 100 people using it, then yeah, it starts to matter. The performance starts to chip away. So there's a pilot layout, a balloons layout. If we're on the balloons right here, and he sees the related pilots, but what if he wants to see the balloons last inspection status? There's an inspection table. So Ken goes out, they check the balloons to make sure they're airworthy before they let them fly. So there's an inspection table. So we need to see that with the balloon. So you would come over here. We're on the balloons layout. We want to see related inspection information. We would attach another buoy, not anchor, but another buoy here, and it would be the inspection. And then what if you wanted to have notes about the balloon? It was here, some other notes, and then you might have another anchor or another buoy here. So once again, the anchor drives the layout, one anchor, and all the supporting data you need is right here. So you'll have stuff that's replicated or duplicated. That's okay. The people who argue with this technique go, I want the least. I mean, it's a funny conversation for those of you probably haven't seen this. Some of you have, but the goal is like, my goal in life is to have the least number of table occurrences in the system. Okay, that's stupid. Okay, but I have some senior people here who go, that's my goal in life. I want to have the least table occurrences in the system. Listen, I can build a system with one table occurrence in it. Okay. So it starts getting to stupid FileMaker tricks, because doing one table occurrence or having the least number does not guarantee good performance. In fact, it may guarantee bad performance, right? There's a right number, and you have to understand that. It's not like trying to minimize the numbers of table occurrences because it's hard to understand. Yeah, if you've got a spider diagram, it's going to be hard to understand. But if they're organized like this and you have little groups of them, all you have to do is say, what layout are you on? I'm on inspections layout. You're on inspections layout. Good. Then you're going to have to come down here, find the inspections tog, and then focus on that. You don't have to worry about it. It's so easy. I can come behind Ken, who is not as good a developer as I am, could come to RCC, take over from me, go into our systems, and know what the hell we built. You know why? Because we use the same stuff. It's that simple. We use it. And because of that, Ken could do that. Welcome to running RCC, Ken. You're going to run, scream, and jump back in your balloon because it's a hard job. So, question from Twitch, Mrs. Colombo, should you plan to make a new tog for every time you need a new layout? Generally, loosely, yes. Generally, loosely, yes. Or try to see if you have an existing tog. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So common sense is kicking in here. So Miss Colombo, if you have a layout and they're both about airplanes, in this case we're about balloons, the plane, not a plane. We're about the aircraft. The balloon is an aircraft, right? I know that's weird for people. It's considered an aircraft. Okay, it flies in the air. We have a layout that talks about balloons and a picture of the balloon, and we have another layout that talks about the balloon and all the associated inspections. Both of those layouts could tie into TO2. If you had a really big system, like remember when you saw the context, we had all that group, then you could theoretically create a TO2 balloons for this and then TO2 balloons for something else and give them different groups of table occurrences because they won't need exactly the same things. And by removing items, every time you remove a buoy, you're increasing performance. It's less FileMaker has to do. Once again, this is the whole idea. I mean, if you understand the idea, then you understand where the limits are. So if you're on this layout right here, in order for FileMaker to evaluate what you're doing, it has to think about all these gears. Oh, it's a computer, it's fast. Okay, well, when someone's complaining that they get the coffee cup and the spinning beach ball, and it's not crash, it's just calculating, that's your clue you got too many items on your thing. But if you build it like this, right, like this, and now this one's a little simplified, but, you know, if you had one here and there's 10 of them here, 1 in 10 is a whole lot better than this nightmare right here. Never mind that we don't understand it, but there's way more than, I mean, you know, if your entire group was this one right here, I mean, the performance is like double just in this one area, okay? So the idea is to group it down, right? Makes sense? Cool. Reusing so Ruben says, reusing the same anchor for different layout can be smart sometimes because you can keep the same found set on both layouts. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff with that because the context is shared. Because when you create this is kind of a good point. I have not really talked about this too much. If you have a found set, you're on this layout here with pilots, and you have balloons right here, and say you have another balloons one right here, okay, makes sense? And you're on this screen, you have a found set and a sort state. So you're on a layout, remember context, when we talk about context, what is context? It's the layout you're on, the record you're on, the found set you're in, the subset of records, and the sort condition you're on, or you're in. All those things constitute a context. Okay, the context is locked in this table occurrence group. So if you wanted to go to another balloon window and easily have the context move, then you would want to keep that other layout on this table occurrence group ideally, so you'd have two layouts using the same table occurrence group. However, if you wanted to have two different layouts, well, yeah, if you want, I was about to say if you want to have two different layouts, two different contexts, you just pop it in a different window, right? So if you, because each window has a separate context, right? So it's the context of a it's interesting understanding. It's like you have these, like I haven't thought about this in like years, but if you think about this, context is specific to the window you're in, which is kind of a session. It's also specific to the table occurrence group. So if we're on a window here and I jump to another table occurrence group, it's going to have a different context. But if I have a table occurrence, if I'm on here with a window and I pop a new window, those windows are handled separately, right? I mean, this is kind of obvious, but this is kind of almost dumb. But if I'm on, well, I'm not really in FileMaker. Well, I'm in FileMaker here, but it's not really a good example. But if you have a found set and I say, well, I want a new window, right? So I have a new window over here, right? Well, that's not the same. Okay. A different window. How about this layout? New. Okay, it's not going to let me do that. It's like, why won't it let me create a new window? That's interesting. Do I have a dialogue open or something? I'm very confused. I've confused myself. I hate it when I confuse myself. Well, okay, so here's the Neomorphism. This is our system right here, okay? So we have products on our system. Doesn't really matter for all of you see this sort of information. So I could actually come down here and say we have 200 records. I could say, give me a found set. I'm going to omit some of these. So my found set is, say, 180 records. So there we go. There's 180 records right here, okay? Makes sense right here? And if I pop a new window, it basically copies the context and everything. And now they are separate. So as I go up and down here, or I say flip the found sets and I'm showing 20 records, they are based on the same table occurrence group. And so they have the kind of the same context, but they're operating in it as a different session. So their sort state doesn't have to be the same. The found set doesn't have to be the same. They're very separate. It's almost like two different windows is a lot like two separate users using the same solution on a server. Very, very similar, right? The file, you could lock, one can lock the record from another one. It's pretty interesting stuff. When they built this tool, obviously it's been done organically, but there's been some like major forward-thinking decisions about how this was made and how it works. It's what makes it so, frankly, so special and so flexible. The product is really quite good, quite good. Even though you hear me like I bitch, like, the product is quite good. All right, so Jacob Taylor. Okay, a little bit of a conversation there between Kenart and Jacob Taylor. I guess that with some card windows keeping the same context focus. Yeah, so we're kind of off topic, so I'm not going to go down that road. Simon Day, once again, you guys have a lot of open questions. If you have a listen, let me give you a tip. If we're having a training here, and you're constantly wanting the conversation to go somewhere and it's not going, you need a FileMaker coach. Okay, you really do. Because a FileMaker coach be like me sitting here talking to you, and then when you want to go somewhere, like Simon Day wants to talk about runtimes or whatever he wants to talk about, then your coach can do that with you, right? So Emmanuel says, there's two questions here. So Theo says, notice that you have 2 or 3 levels in a TOG. How many levels? Really good question, Theo. So let me go back to the slideshow here. So let's talk about this. So I'm just going to use this. So this is level 1. This is the parent. This is the child relationship. So I have engineers who will not go 5 and 6 deep because the performance goes off a cliff. So once again, notice over here on this, if you're over here evaluating a layout over here, you had to go 1. And then you go this way, you're on 2, 3, no, let's go 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and 8, 9, 10. You could have 10 or 12, 15 deep on this real easy if you ended up at one side and going to the other. Even if you don't need it, it's still there, and it's going to cause FileMaker to think about it, right? So in our solutions, I would say in starting point, you probably never see them deeper than most of the time, it's the most you'd see is 1, 2, 3. Most of the time you'd see is 4. Under some weird conditions, you might have 5. But just understand that if you're chewing a lot of data, you're doing a big find or something through there, the performance is just going to go off a cliff. And so this gets into the issue of caching the data into number fields, getting values, getting that stuff stored locally. If you have a data that's out here at 5 or 6 or 8 hops away, it's going to be so slow. You're going to want some sort of scripted process that will total all that up and stick it in a number field here for you so it's instantaneously available. Once again, a different performance conversation. But I think when you start hitting 5 and above, you're going to start, and once again, it depends on your server, depends on the amount of data and the amount of users, the RAM cache on your server. Some of you, we had the conversation today, set your RAM cache a little bit below 50%. Then someone went to one of our competitors and they said, we have no idea what we're talking about. And I'm like, okay. They said, just leave it at the default setting. And I'm like, okay. Anytime you want to get a stopwatch out with that, feel free. I'll be happy to sit there and watch you go.
Definitely don't leave it at the default.
Well, if you want to hire one of our competitors and you want to do that, that's totally good. And then when you come to us and see how fast our stuff is, we'll just tell you it's because we're so awesome, right? We're just so much more amazing.
That's the difference. Yeah, we kick the butt of the competitors, and so our FileMaker solutions are both much faster. The servers cost you less money, and sometimes on the third Monday they slice bread for you as well.
Oh, there you go. That's cool. I didn't know about the bread thing. All right. So Manuel says if you have TO1 and TO2, for instance, and TO2 anchor has a join and another join, if you access the data connected to, do you automatically okay, there's no duplication of tables. There's duplication of table occurrences. So once again, if I go back over here to my finished goods solution, I go to File, Manage Database. Okay, I have a contact right here. Okay, that's contacts. Okay, I have a contact down here. That's another contacts. There's probably 10 or 12 contacts on here. If I go to tables, how many contacts tables are there? 1. Okay, now if you look over here, it shows you where all the TOs are. It's kind of an unruly kind of name. You can't really, but unruly list, right? See what I'm saying? But you're not duplicating tables. Tables and table occurrence are totally different. That is a core part of the conversation today. That's a great question. I'm really glad you're asking it. So, Emmanuel, did I answer that? Please, did I answer that? So, the table occurrence, TO, are the little guys over here. All the little, there are no tables over here. These, okay, let me help you. Let me give you this another way for those of you a little bit more business. You are a table. Emmanuel is a table, okay? Emmanuel has representatives that represent him. Those are called attorneys. How many attorneys may you have, Emmanuel? As many as you want, assuming you have the money for it. So each of these are table occurrence. They're representatives. These are like little attorneys running around, okay? No attorney jokes, please, at least in the United States, right? But yes, these are all attorneys. They're not the actual table. It's a representative of the table. So Contacts is on here. He's a big, powerful person. I have contacts. I'm powerful. I got a lot of attorneys. I got an attorney here. That's actually me, but it's kind of my attorney because I actually never show up on a relationship graph because I'm too important to show up. But like I'm here. I got one of my buddies over here, right? That one right there. And if I come down here, we'll probably have some more down here, like email forms and documents over here. And then what about invoices? Let's go over here and go up to invoices. I've got campaigns, to-dos, products, right? Got that right there. I got content. I'm all over the place in here. I got my attorney over here, attorney, oh wow, definitely got an attorney right here, right? So I'm covered. Make sense? Got it. Awesome. Listen, that's why we do the live stream training, right? To put this in context. If you don't understand it one way, if you don't understand attorneys, we'll come out with a kitten, doggy, rescue cat metaphor next time. Ruben, Agent Chevy says, stumble across the color, the TOs in the same table. I guess I can't recall how anymore. Yeah, you can change the color of these boxes. So this box up here is just it's like on the Mac, you have these little Postit Note thingies or whatever. But you can actually, it's actually a tool to draw a text thing, right? So here's the tool. And then you can change the color to like whatever you want it to be, and you say okay, and then you could do different colors and stuff like that. So if you're actually on the box, I'm not sure if you can change that color or not. I don't think so, but that's how you create these boxes. And these boxes are always behind the TOs. So these little text things are always behind. So it's like a layering system, like Photoshop has layers, or FileMaker Layout has objects with different layers in front and behind, stuff like that. These table little sticky notes things here are always in the background. Now I don't know how to rearrange them relative to each other. We don't try to stack them on top of each other. I guess you could try. So anyway, question from Twitch to Cinco. If you're cleaning up an older spider diagram, yep. Is there an easy way to update the fields on the layout to use the fields on the new, or do you have to change one field at a time? Nothing I'm prepared to show because it would be speculative. And it changed once upon a time. You need to play around with it a little bit to see how you would do that. It's going to be a lot of brute force. Cleaning up a spider and moving to an anchor buoy is going to be a lot of brute force, but I think you have to do it, right? I mean, I had to do it. We've had to do it multiple times. But my job here is to educate you. The people I feel sorry for, the ones that have never been through this training, like what you're getting right now, they don't know what they don't know. At least you know what you should do. You don't have to do it, but at least you know the kind of the correct answer, right? So, but yeah, I don't want to, unlike Nick Hunter, I'm not good enough to wing something that, because I haven't done one of those in a long time. Most time anymore, I have one of my junior folks do it, and we say, hey, go do this for me. And, and if you want access to a junior person super cheap, just give me a call or send us an email, and we'll hook you up for someone. A cheap coach or a cheap FileMaker developer do grunt work, like straighten out your spider diagram. Totally can do that. So let me know. Scott Kane, Agent Chevy, blah, 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 going back and forth, stumble across table occurrence, Command U. We'll select all instances of that table in the graph. Command, table occurrence, Command U. Table occurrences in the graph. So if I'm on contacts and I hit Command U. Yeah, so find all my, that's a good one. See, that's one I didn't know about. Find all my attorneys. Like I got, like I am contacts. Show me all my attorneys. They're all over the place in here. Look at all these attorneys. That is awesome. Oh, one there, one there, one there. That's pretty awesome. Good one. Who said that? Who did that idea? Scott Kane or Agent Chevy? Someone said that. That's pretty good. You get a gold star for that one. That's awesome. Awesome. Yes, Agent Chevy. Awesome. So Rafael is there. Welcome. Tawaz there. FMSP is great guidance. Download it. Yeah, we use this all in Starting Point. This might look like it came from Starting Point. It did once upon a time, but this is my internal finished goods system. So, but we keep, even though we didn't do Starting Point, we didn't. It's not like one of those things like do what I say, not what I do. It's like when your parents are like, drinking and fighting or something, and they say don't drink and fight or don't do drugs and fight, and then the kids are like high as kites because parents are doing it. We actually say use Anchor Buoy, and then we actually use it ourselves. So this is our internal system. It's not as quite as pretty. The one over here is a little bit kind of, but it's still pretty well organized, and it's still Anchor Buoy, isn't it? So this is what happens when, this one should be, and then probably I need to check to make sure these are like alphabet, M, N, O, P, and then there's an S, there's a double S right there. So, so we'll talk about naming conventions tomorrow. We'll definitely bring that back tomorrow. So we're kind of over time at this point. If you have questions, about this topic, we're going to come back tomorrow. Send me an email to support@RC Consulting and say, for Richard Livestream, you're not in trouble. Ask your question, even if it's redundant. I'd rather you ask the question. In fact, you ask it and if you send me an email, no one will know you sent me an email. It'll be secret. I won't say blah, blah, blah sent me an email. Unless it's like Ellen or TK or Moki or someone. Then I'm going to snitch. You folks, I'm going to snitch on. But the rest of you, it'll be totally confidential. I won't tell you anyway. Just ask me your question. If you have a question, 100,000 other people have the question too. I guarantee. Right? Awesome. So if we have any other questions, we'll catch it tomorrow. Definitely send an email to support. Because right now we're going to be covering Anchor Buoy and Claris's blog a little bit. Talking about the performance things there with that a little bit. So if you have questions about this, let me know. We'll cover it tomorrow and wrap up the topic then. So that's it for today, everyone. We appreciate it.
Just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Try to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left for Amendola. Reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.